I'm finally releasing part 2 of the conversation with Ronicha. We talk about her life in South Korea, solo travel, and what's next for her brand. Stay tuned to have your cup poured into. So currently you do live in South Korea. I want to say I think that's amazing. What is it like living in South Korea compared to America?
It is very different. I can go on about this topic for a very long time. Living in Korea, of course, you have like the societal difference. Here is very superficial. Is a very superficial and depressed society is the best way I can put it. Since birth, like they're just the skincare routine, like Korea is number one in skincare. So that's actually what attracted me to come here because like I'm into all of that. They're taught since birth, to take care of their skin. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that there are mirrors literally everywhere. You will see mirrors in train stations. You will see Koreans walking to the train, just looking in the mirror, bumping into people. You have students sitting in the class, looking in the mirrors. Like, looks is very important here, as it is probably in most societies, but in Korea, it's more. So, and also the education system, I'm not gonna lie, is really bad. And the kids hate it. They hate it because they are overworked. Like in Korea, they believe the more you work, the better off you will be. And that's just not the case. So in terms of mental health, it's really lacking in Korea because they feel like, oh, we don't have those issues. They don't acknowledge anxiety or depression and stuff like that. You're just taught to really just to suck it up. So you have a lot of depressed people. Like they literally transform on the weekends. And I guess that's why it's number one in terms of being like a party city. Well, Seoul is known as being like a party town because Koreans really let loose on the weekends because they're depressed. So they just drink away all of their problems and morph into something totally different. So like I had at my last job and when I was in a different city of Korea, you had kids coming in saying, teacher, I hate school, or like, I don't want to say this, I want to kill myself, but they talked about death like a lot. Like they joked about it. It was just a very dark environment. Like, yeah, I don't remember being 10 saying I was stressed out because they do so much. They do so much. They work them so hard. And I don't feel like Koreans, I don't think they care about quality in terms of like work ethic. I think it's just more about the quantity. And they just want you to just work. But I think the biggest thing I like about living in Korea is the safety. Like it's a lot more safe than America. I can leave my apartment at 3 a.m. in the morning, walk to the store, and I don't feel scared at all. Not saying bad things don't happen in Korea, but it's a lot less than in America. So that's really one of the great things. And for the most part, Korean people are nice. Like whenever I'm lost or I need help, like they really go out of their way to help me. I will say that. Like they are sweet people. I've met some very sweet people for the most part.
And I will say, you saying that kind of surprised me. I actually just Googled it and it said suicide is the fourth most common cause of death in South Korea. On average, people commit suicide every day. And I got that from Berkeley Political Review. I honestly didn't know that. I've only. Oh, what were you going to say?
No, I was gonna say yes. Like one of the highest ranked countries in terms of suicide. Like I've even seen the suicide nets. I was training for at my last job. I was at a training center, and like at the top of this staircase, there was like this net, and I'm like, "What is this?" And they was like, "Oh, you don't know? Like that's the suicide net for like when kids want to, I guess, jump off the building." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy! I didn't know any of that." Right.
So is that their way of encouraging it, or saying like this is a safe way to kill yourself?
It's more like, if you want to do it, well, I don't think it's more of an encouragement, but it's also not a solution to a problem because, and and I don't want to generalize like all Koreans, but I'm talking from my experience. Like the, um, the Koreans I have encountered, they don't believe in building the foundation. Like they don't believe in actually addressing the problem. They just, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor, they just give you medication to stop the symptoms. They don't actually fix the underlying cause of things. So that's where Koreans go wrong. Like they're always just like frantically confused. Like that's why I don't see myself here long term because it's very superficial. They don't think beyond a certain scope.
Okay, so what has your experience been like being Black in Korea, in South Korea?
Mm-hmm. Um, when I first got here, I actually thought it was going to be a lot worse. I had prepared myself to be pointed at, and I thought people was going to be picking my hair and pulling on me and pointing at me and saying "wegook." That's a Korean word for foreigner, and I haven't experienced any of that. But like I said, this is my experience. I do have friends who have experienced bad things. Um, for the most part, it's been enjoyable. Actually, in my town, and guys, please don't kill me for saying this because I know I don't look like her, but they call me Beyonce,
Oh,
which is so hilarious. I'm like, no, no, I look nothing like Beyonce. I'm like, we're two different skin complexions. But I guess that was their way of saying that I was beautiful. And the people are just really friendly. Like I'm walking and they just hi. Like I guess it's a time for them to practice their English. Because contrary to popular belief, not a whole lot of Koreans speak English. So they're like, hi, I'm walking to work. Kids from other schools are speaking to me. It's really a joy. I've been very fortunate to not have experience anything really negative in terms of being Black. But I have a friend who literally, during her job, she worked with little children and they would call her, blackface, monkey, and things like that. And these are 5-year-olds. So at this point, it has to be coming from their parents. And also the way they are portraying us on TV, because I've also heard another thing that these schools, they don't really want to hire Black men because the students find them scary or stuff like that. So it definitely exists in Korea, but yeah. So I think I'm sorry. I just think as a Black person, like it's it's just gonna be that we have to experience everywhere we go, probably for the most part. So I don't want to like let that deter you from like let anyone like if you want to come to Korea, come. Everybody's experience is different. Like don't let that stop you from traveling.
where you said your friend was teaching English and she had younger children. Were you guys both at the same school where the students were calling her blackface or monkey?
No, we were at two
Okay.
completely different schools.
Backtracking a little bit because I should ask you this from the beginning. Do you want to share a little bit about where you came from and about your childhood? I honestly just want to show where you come from, to show where you are now, and how if there's other people who are from Liberty City or areas that are similar to Liberty City, no matter where they are, that they too can be in South Korea teaching or wherever they decide to go, that the sky is the limit. And I also did want to shed light on that you also lived in Spain for a semester, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so yeah, I grew up in Miami, in Liberty City. My sister raised me from age 9 to 18 due to a parent who was abusing drugs. And um, for the most part, like my childhood, it was a rough one, but I made it through. I guess I just when I reflect and I think back on like my childhood and like what propelled me to go in the go in a better direction, because I was surrounded by, those girls who were just kind of doing their own things, following after boys and just like being in the streets. And for a part of my life, I don't want to say I was raised in the streets, but like I saw a lot of things at a very young age that a child shouldn't have to see, and I was around things that a child shouldn't have to be around. So the odds were kind of stacked against me. Um, but I guess somehow I just knew there was more to life. And I think what helped me to see that was watching America's Next Top Model. I know that sounds crazy, but when I was younger, um, yeah, I wanted to be a model, and I really looked up to Tyra Banks. And just seeing those girls like go after their dreams and um, seeing them win, like I would cry at the end of like every season when the girl would win. And I guess that just let me know that there was more to life. Like seeing them travel and seeing them just live out their deepest desires. I think it just kind of propelled me to want more from life. And that's just a very interesting thing, because I have a brother uh, who went the complete opposite direction of me. So it is interesting how like some two people can be brought up in the same household the same way, but yeah, going to two completely different directions.
I can definitely agree with that last statement because I have a brother and sister. Honestly, I didn't even know you had a brother, but I do have a brother and sister. Sometimes I forget that we did. Me and my sister at least grew up in the same household, but we all, like, if you saw us all together, you wouldn't. Some people say they don't believe that we're all related because we definitely have different personalities and we all have different levels of where we are in our lives. So it's very surprising to see, like, we both have the same parents, all three of us. We all have the same upbringing, but where we are is just completely different. And I think it stems for me when I'm learning, it stems from the choices you make. I think at some point we all were dealt with the same choices. We can either, like, for example, which I'm not saying any of my siblings did this, but we can either sell drugs or go to college. We can either hang out with these friends or go study. We have a choice. There's a good and a bad choice. Or I think there's a choice that is both choices are gonna project you somewhere in life, but one choice is gonna be the better choice to project you in more of a positive way in life, to not cause you to have to go to jail or any of those things. And I think it's the choices you make that reflects upon you in life. So, do you feel that being in South Korea and the traveling that you've done and where you are in your life, do you feel like it's helping you get closer to your purpose?
That is so interesting. Oh, girl. Um, Traveling for me has been therapeutic. When I first went to Spain, I felt like that was just a spiritual journey in itself. I went to Spain back in 2014, 2015, and I stayed. I was I was doing an exchange program. I was studying at their university, but I was living with a host family, and in terms, I was teaching their kids English. Well, I wouldn't use the word teaching, but just being around them and speaking English and doing interactive activities and whatnot. And in terms, they hosted me, provided me my own room and bathroom, food, and gave me pocket money. Um, and that in itself was mind blowing. I just felt very grateful and thankful during that experience, because a while back I had posted on my vision board that I wanted to live in a glass house, a white glass house. And yeah, so like I had interviewed with the parents, met them, saw what kind of people they are over Skype. And I had no clue like what kind of house they had. So she picks me up from the train station, and like we pull up to this house, and it's like the same exact house that's on this vision board. And I'm like losing my mind. It's a mini mansion. Um, it was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Like the bathroom was like a spa. Like I can sit down and scrub my legs. Oh, it was the most beautiful thing. And I just during those whole 5 months, I just felt extremely grateful. I remember just eating, like I would just eat a fruit and just be like, thank you, God. And I would just start crying because I'm like, wow, I'm really here. Like I'm living my life like with maids and everything, like catering. Like I've never experienced that. I never thought I would experience that. So I think that was the first intro to just like, I guess like my spiritual journey. And then last year with Korea, that's another spiritual journey. And that's why I think like just traveling alone is where it is, because like when you kind of isolate yourself, you have no one to fall back on, so to speak. You have to make your own decisions. You don't ask anyone for their opinions. It's like literally what you think. So you come to know what you like and what you desire. And you have a lot of time to just literally sit and reflect. And sometimes you have to get away from everything to get clarity. And that's why I love to promote like traveling solo. Like I think everyone should do it at least once in their life. I honestly think you should do it even before like you get married and you get into like a relationship. So you can just literally know who you are like at your core. And that's what traveling has been to me. But it's now coming to an end actually. I'm leaving Korea earlier than planned because I am not living out my dreams and I want to stay true to myself. Teaching is not getting me to where I want to be. So, what you can expect from Ronicha in the future, I've decided to go back to school for to be a naturopathic doctor because I know that is my calling. Like I want to help people in our Black community. It's so much information that's just hidden, or so much information you just don't know. And in the past, like I have helped people with illnesses. Like I don't want to talk myself as like a doctor, but I have like my 11 at the time. My nephew was 11, and he was battling with alopecia, and alopecia is basically a disease that affects your hair follicles, and your hair starts falling out. So he was like 11 battling with this, and you can imagine how traumatic that could be for a child at 11. He was forced to wear like scullies every day to school. So he came. I was in college, and he came one summer and stayed with me. And I was just like, "Listen, no, we're gonna do something about this." Like the doctor's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, his hair would never grow back." And I'm like, "Listen, that's bull crap. Like you're 11 years old. Like your hair will grow back. Okay, like don't listen to them." So I put him on this regimen, um, and that summer, like his hair grew back, and he was so happy. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, knowing that like I helped to rebuild his self-esteem, and I was able to do that for him. And like just seeing how my my friends feel crazy when they go to the doctor because the doctor is just like, "Oh, take this pill," or "Oh, it's probably this," or they're not really listening to them. But at this point, I can't blame the doctors. It's really just the system of how they are informed. Seeing my mom, like my mom has a whole host of health problems and seeing how they're just not fixing the problem. Like they're just piling on more medicine and more medicine is really what's like propelling me to just go this route because it is something I am extremely passionate about. And at first I thought it was just like with skincare that I was going to be passionate about, like just, oh, knowing what products to put on. But then I realized it was deeper than that. And it really just starts in your body. And I know people are like, oh, yeah, everyone is promoting eating right and drinking water. But it's a deeper level to that too. But it really all starts within. And yeah, so I'm leaving Korea because I'm not staying. I can't promote staying true to yourself, but here I am in Korea not being true to myself. So I decided that I'm leaving. I'll probably be coming home July, August, so very soon, and I am very excited about it.
OMG, I like one problem I have, which like people that follow their like journeys and stuff, I have to learn not to like be, which I think parents kind of do this. In my opinion, I know my mom does this, is like they get more attached to the current goal or the current journey you're on than you are. And when you switch it up, because like you said, you're doing this because you need to make a life change. It makes me kind of sad because I'm like, what? No, she's out in Korea, but I do understand where you're coming from. And I'm happy that you were able to reflect and take the time to see that you weren't happy and realize what was going to be the thing to make you happy. And hearing you say that you are going to pursue this new education venture, I honestly think that's amazing and a really good fit for you because everything you just said, I can attest to that from you because especially with your older blog, Ronicha, I definitely saw that with you. Like, that's why I think I kept going back to your blog and going back to your brand. It's because you were kind of like not diagnosing me, but just like I said earlier, you were a mental health, you were a form of therapy for me.
Yeah, and there will be more blog posts like how it was in Rowology. It's just, I'm just starting out.
Yeah, take your time, do not worry. But stepping a little bit back to the travel and then we'll close with a little bit about purpose. How do you not let money get in the way of you traveling?
Are you asking? Okay, well, do you think like traveling is expensive?
I don't. For me, I think I changed my mindset that it's not an expense, it's more of an investment. And I think it's a great investment in myself. I do try and of course still look for the great travel deals, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I've seen this charts. I think I've seen it on Instagram where it's like 6 months before the trip, 20 people say they're gonna go. 2 months before the trip, it's down to 10. 2 weeks before the trip, it's down to 5. The day before the trip, it's like 3. And then the day of the trip is just you by yourself. And I feel like when I talk with my friends about, oh my gosh, let's go here. Oh, let's do this. Even if it's up the road, like right now I'm still in Gainesville. So even if it's me saying like, let's go up the road to like Disney or let's go to Atlanta, it's still, even for that, sometimes it's like that money issue that gets in the way. And even that's cheap. You're just paying for gas and whatever food or activities you do. That's, to me, that's nothing. But like you going to South Korea or wherever it's a person may want to go, to Puerto Rico, wherever it is, I feel like it's always a money issue that gets in the way. So I don't know if maybe you look at travel differently when it comes to expenses, but how do you, I guess, look past it as it's not an expense? Like I said earlier, I see it as an investment.
Yeah.
So.
I think it just comes back down to what you value. Like some people value, like me, I value travel. So I don't mind spending $300 on a flight, but other people, they see the value in maybe buying $300 pairs of shoes. And I think that's where a lot of it comes in. It's like, oh, I don't want to travel that bad. Like that's too much. I don't want to spend that much money on travel when I could just use it for something else. I guess you just have to make like travel a priority. And it can be expensive or it can be really cheap. It just depends on your preferences and what you like to do. But there's a whole host of resources on how to get cheap flights. Like me, like I search all the time and I like to buy my flights at midnight, like on a Monday or Tuesday, because that's when flight prices are the lowest. And if you're really flexible, like with your time, like you can find, oh my gosh, you can find trips all over the world for nothing, literally. Like, it's super cheap. Um, um, yeah, like I think it's because I value travel. It's something I'm passionate about. So I don't really see it as an expense. Like, I think when you really care about something, you don't really care about the money, so to speak. Um, but if you are a person who wants to travel and you are struggling with, like, oh, how can I afford this? Yeah, like you said, like, it's an investment. Like, put $25 or $5 a week, set it aside, take on part-time jobs or online gigs, try to use your skill set to monetize off your skill set so that you are able to travel. Because I know, like, people really don't have the money. Like, they are really that broke and they don't even, like, have anything to start off with. But where there's a will, there's a way. Just set one, like, if your check is $600 a month, after you pay your bills, maybe just set $5 aside. It may take you longer to get where you want to go, but it is possible. So yeah.
Earlier you did mention, I want to touch on this, and this will be the last travel related question. For the picture. I really want to share the story, and hopefully it displays the question I want to ask clearly. I actually did take my first solo trip this past November to New York. It was the week of Irma, and Irma had just hit, and I have been talking my whole life about going to New York. That's been the place that I said I wanted to move to since I can remember. I bought the ticket Tuesday. I was in New York Thursday, and it was one of the best trips I think I've ever taken. And I was so upset at the fact that it took me so long to take it, but I was so happy that I finally took that step and just went. Everything just seemed to fall into place. It was amazing. Because of that trip, a friend reached out to me, or a person who I actually went to school with. She reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, let's take a trip together." And I was really resilient against it. I was telling her no. I didn't really want to. And because she saw me say that trip, she's like, "Well, you're able to take this trip. Let's make it happen." So I'm like, "Okay, you know what? Let's just do it." However, on the trip, it seemed more like what you said earlier. She was on the trip to just get those good Instagram pics. And don't get me wrong, I was looking for those great Instagram pics, but I feel like for me, traveling is about the experience and really immersing myself in the culture. Who knows when I'm gonna ever travel to wherever I go to again? If this is my last time and I die on the plane, I want it to be the best trip and the best experience I have. If I'm able to come here every year and make this an annual trip, awesome. That is like my goal. How do you take yourself away from going wherever you go? How do you take yourself away from Instagram and the social media aspect of it and really immerse yourself in the culture? Because I feel like that's being lost when it comes to traveling.
Mm. um. Well, for one, Snapchat and Instagram story. It's honestly just weird for me. Like, I'm trying to be more into it for my brand, so I can really display my personality. But honestly, it's just weird for me. Like, I don't really care to do it, and it's too much work. I'm honestly like, how do people do this? Like, when I try to do it, I'm like, oh no, this is taking up too much time. I'm not living in the moment. Like, and I just put my phone down. Or what I'll do is I'll just, like, record and just save it for later. But I don't make the whole trip about, like, I don't record the whole trip. That gets exhausting. Um, which is probably why I had a vlogging channel. Yeah, I couldn't do that either because I'm just like, yeah, this is not me. I just need to be present. Um, of course, like, on Instagram, you want to show people where you've been. And it's okay. Like, it's okay to take those Instagram photos. I think it all comes back to awareness. I know I've mentioned this a lot throughout this podcast, but, like, if you find yourself, like, getting stressed over a picture and getting frustrated over taking a picture, or, like, you just find yourself, like, trying to record everything, like, I think that's the moment you just need to say enough is enough. Like, and also don't look at it as in you have something to prove. Like, you don't have anything to prove. Like, you're traveling, you're there, you're enjoying it. Like, you don't have to take this perfect picture on Instagram. Um, I don't know. It's really just about diving in learn the language of the country you're going to, a few words, try to talk to people, meet people. And I find that you really meet people more when you do solo travel. And that's how you really immerse yourself in the culture. There's Facebook groups for like traveling to particular cities. Maybe you can meet up with someone who has lived there.
Before we end the podcast, is there anything that you want to say or any questions that I didn't get a chance to ask you?
No matter what you're going through, know that it will get better. It doesn't matter if you're battling with low self-esteem, depression, anxiety. It will get better. But you have to avidly work at it. You have to put yourself in the fire. You have to cry. Try to try to even reach out to your parents and talk about it. They may just shock you, because in my healing journey, my family actually played a huge role. I was able to be vulnerable with them, and they allowed me to just like be who I was. But I know the depression could be stemming from your family itself. But try to talk to a really close friend about it. Try to seek out a therapist or an online community. And just honor yourself. Try to enjoy yourself. Live in the moment. Don't focus too much on the future. And don't think when you get this new job or this new car, these new clothes, this new hairstyle, get all this money, that your problems will go away, because they won't. You have to just use this low point in preparation for your future self. Work at it now, so when you do get all of this money and a lot more freedom, so to speak, you'll be able to enjoy it. You'll be able to enjoy it, and you won't have to battle with low self-esteem or depression or just issues that we commonly face. You'll be able to really enjoy the money and the fruits of your labor. So, and if anything, if you guys ever want to talk, just DM me on Instagram or Twitter. If you need advice, if you're struggling with something, I'm always here. And yeah.
I know for Facebook, I love travel, so it's a very empowering group, especially if there's solo girl travelers with movies like Shooter, where the girl was, I guess, was snatched up and was going to be taken for human trafficking. It kind of like encourages women, like, you can travel alone, you can do it solo. I've seen 18-year-olds take 1 month, 1 year backpacking trips, and that's just been really inspirational for me, just to see that and really remind myself, like, I can do this. This world is, you do need to be cautious, but you can still live the life you want to live. So my last question, as you know, the name of the podcast is Pour Into My Cup. Do you feel like your cup is half empty or half full?
Can you go into a little bit more details about what you mean by half empty, half full?
That's no problem. So where I stimulate that question from is, I remember in middle school, I was in music class, and I did not understand it at the time. My music professor, he would ask us every day. He had a picture of a cup, and he said, is it half empty or half full? And actually, no, I don't want to go over it. You have to answer the question first, because if I say it, it's going to like give away the answer, in a sense.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Half full.
Okay, so is my cup half empty? Half empty. Half full. Okay, I think my cup is half full because for the most part, I've done the work of deconstructing my past, realizing who I am as an individual, taking steps to pursue my deepest goals and dreams. So I guess that's where the half fullness comes in. Gosh, I wish I had more time to meditate on this. I could give you such a better answer, but I'm just going off my head now. Oh, that is such an interesting. I'm like, oh snap, that is such an interesting question. Um, yeah, I would say it's half full just because I haven't gotten to where I am, where I want to be, and that's okay. This I don't know how, Rashiva, because I'm like, I don't want to say my cup is half full because I feel like I'm full. Like I feel like I am full. Of course, there's still more to go, but I feel like acknowledging that my cup is half half full is like, I don't know. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got it. So my cup is half full, um, because like I said, like I've done the work, I've deconstructed the past, I've realized who I am, I've confronted my demons, the bad parts of myself, I've accepted myself. So that's how I've gotten to this half fullness in my cup. But as you journey through life, there's always going to be someone who can teach you something new, someone who can fill your cup a little bit higher, a little bit more, enlighten you a little bit more. I don't want to say my cup will be full when when I accomplish my dream to be like a naturopathic doctor, when I get that house. It's never an end. I don't think there's ever an end. I don't think there's a set destination. I really do think it really is all about the journey. And if you meditate on that just a little bit, you'll realize, like, yeah, what is this destination I'm trying to reach? Because as humans, we're constantly evolving. We're multifaceted. Our likes, our dislikes, it changes. We don't stay the same way. So while I'm interested in um, traveling now, it won't always be. It may not always be that way. Like I may change, and there will always be something to pour into my cup, more and more and more, and it just. I think I'll just constantly. I will always be poured into it as long as I'm open to receiving that. So I think my cup is halfway full.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast. I appreciated your insight, transparency, and being able to open up to our listeners. Like I said earlier about your blog, I feel like just now in the podcast, you were very like raw and vulnerable and gave, I feel like, very honest answers. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this podcast is great. And I really enjoyed talking to you. I loved all the questions you asked. You allowed me to, you made it easy for me to be vulnerable and transparent. So thank you so much. It was a joy talking with you. Like I've never talked on the phone with you really since like our last
Oh, we haven't.
conversation,
No.
like in person, was in high school.
Yeah, it really was.
So this was a joy. And I wish the best for your podcast. It's going to go far. Yeah.
Don't make me cry.
And
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I do want to end it off for people who are listening. How can they connect with you? You have a blog, you have social handles. I know you said you're not like the most socially connected on social channels, but how are they able to connect with you?
yes, and I will be in the future. I will be. I just have to plan it all out and get my adulting skills up there. But because I do want to get a whole bunch of information out to people who follow me. But you can follow my website, www.theheroiswithin.com. That is my blog slash e-commerce store. It will be in the future. My Instagram handle is at the hero is within, and on Twitter is Roology. I have to change that, but for now it's Roology, and that's RO_OLOGY. RONICHAPOLOGY. And if you like, you can also add me on Facebook, and that's just Ronicha Palmer, which is RONICHA Palmer, PALMER.
Can't wait until the next episode to get your cup filled? Follow us on our social media platform for daily inspiration at Pour Into My Cup on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Or check out our blog and services at www.pourintomycup.org. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to stay updated when new episodes are released. Leave a review and pour into someone else's cup by sharing the podcast. And I have to ask, is your cup half empty or half full? Peace, love, happiness. Roshiba, signing off.